so is it Uman?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Hello, hello, hello.
How's it going, man? It's so
Going
awesome
pretty
that you
well.
decided to jump on. I'm super excited about the product you're building. It's probably one of the coolest products I've seen. So like for some context, okay? There's two like categories of prediction markets that I'm really interested in right now. The first category is like permissionless event market creation, right? So you come in,
Yeah,
you create whatever contract you want, you know, that sort of thing. I'm really excited about that. The other one is I'm excited about indexes. I'm excited about people kind of creating these a basket of prediction market assets that you can invest in so that you don't have to follow each event individually. That's
yeah,
what you so
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
what we can do is we can start off with an intro, what you're working on, what you're building, and kind of take it from there.
Sounds like a plan. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. First of all, John, I've been seeing your podcast, and I was like, yeah, we need to hop in. We need to show your audience what we are up to because this like should be very exciting to the regular poly market and Kalshi traders because it's very similar to hyperliquid vaults. So if you're like kind of familiar with hyperliquid back in the day and their vaults, that was a really cool thing for traders to just okay, if they have some alpha, if they have some idea about a particular way they want to trade, they could just launch a vault, get their audience, their community to pool money in and trade on their behalf. So that went quite well. And what we are up to with prediction markets as an underlying and thesis index overall is like a 1000x upgrade to hyperliquid vaults. So yeah, a little about myself. I've been building in the Solana ecosystem for a very long time, almost 4 years now. I'm like very early part of Super Team, the community. In case you have heard, they first started in India back in October 2021. So I became a day one member there, and that's how my Solana crypto journey started. I previously founded a payments platform and then started Candy Pay in January last year. We were like a LP terminal on Solana because the long tail asset volume is really high here, right? So that gives an opportunity for people to provide liquidity and earn LP fees, which is like something very Solana particular for people to make money on. And there was like no pro terminal to do that, no easy way to do that. I was doing it myself, for like I was earning myself, but it was a hard process. So we built like a pro terminal that did quite well, like almost $30 million in deposits in 5-6 months of private beta. But eventually in end of the year, around December, we decided to shut that down because long tail asset volume was decreasing and the market structure was changing, like prop AMMs came and all these things happened. So the ROI to make money from LPing wasn't enough. So yeah, we shut that down and decided to pivot into prediction markets. For the first few months, we did like a good market research to understand how things work, how structures work, how historically trading instruments have progressed from like a mere exchange, an asset to exchange, to like developing into like hedging and like all these complex use cases, right? So then we realized, okay, the next big thing which will make prediction markets grow 1000x 10,000x from here is indices, right? So if you look at the history of indices, like assume S&P 500 in the US, right? It's an index on the top 500 companies in the US. So if I'm bullish on the growth of US economy, instead of buying 500 stocks myself, doing the fundamental technical research and all these things, as a retail trader, I can just buy that index, which is pretty easy for me, and it's like managed by professional fund managers, so I know it's like trusted and like a good thing to invest on, right? Where I have a clear thesis, okay, I'm bullish on America and the US economy, right? Now eventually these indices got complex. So there's something called credit default swap. Have you heard of this? Credit
Yeah.
default swap index, which is essentially an index where underlying is insurance premiums, right? So when companies, like listed companies, take out loans from bank, they have to pay a premium, right? And that insurance premium is used as a hedging instrument. So if institutions mostly believe, okay, recession is coming and the economy gonna tank, what's the best way they can hedge against that? Just buy a lot of insurances, right? Like, because okay, they will pay back. If you believe recession is not coming and the economy is doing really well, then you sell the insurances, because there's no recession coming in, so you're not going to get paid from the insurance premium, so you just sell the thing, right? And when you combine all of these multiple insurances from a lot of companies defining the whole economy in general, and you have this one simple index, which is CDS, credit default swap index, it becomes very easy, right? A very simple single instrument to bet on whether recession will come or not, right? So historically speaking, indices have played a really great role in uh, like understanding how to, like making people trade in a much efficient and easy manner. And now, with a new trading instrument or like an underlying instrument like prediction markets, it becomes much, the surface area on the things we can do, people can do, is like much better now. To give you an example, right? So in 2020, Katie Wood started this, had the fund called ARC, right, which did quite well. They did like $24 billion in AUM in peak COVID, because they were like betting on disruptive technologies. So like biotech, healthcare, genome, batteries, Zoom, because of the online call and all these things. So that was a cool thing, right? Like, okay, COVID has it. What are the ideal things which would grow from here in an economy like this? Now, that was, in my belief, like a index created on a thesis rather than a particular sector, right? If you see multiple, any kind of index fund, they have a particular sector. Okay, like they're betting on healthcare as a sector, they're betting on tech as a sector, but there's no index actually betting on a thesis. You know what I mean? Like a combination of multiple sectors betting on a defined thesis. So that's what like the origination of thesis index came from my perspective. And with prediction markets, we are essentially making that possibility available for everyone. So another great example is Leopold Aschenbrenner, who is like very famous in the last few days, because he lost like, I don't know, 80% of his fund value. But before that, in just 6 months or like 2 years, like total time frame, he grew his fund from zero to $45 billion, right? And it has this one thesis betting on AI dominating the world, right? So that's how we think on it. Like, besides, so there are like 2 points we are actually taking in, which is prediction market. For them to grow as an asset, as a trading card, a trading instrument, they need to have indices on top, which can supply taker volume in a much efficient manner together. Second is, how can we make it easy for people to trade their thesis? How can we make experts a fund manager, right? What Keith Wood did in 2020, what Leopold Ashburner did in the last 2 years. How can we make it possible for everyone and anyone? So yeah, that's how I'm building Cleopatra, and we have created this trading instrument which we are calling Thesis Index.
Yeah, really cool concept. I love this stuff because I've been waiting for indexes to invest in for a while. I mean, my problem with prediction markets right now is that I have to go in and I have to manage a bunch of different events, and I have to watch those events, and I have to make sure that, knowing when to exit. The alternative to that is copy trading, or as you said, fund management is another version
Yeah,
of this. But indexes seem to be one of the best versions of this because there's so much already proven kind of product market fit in the regular traditional market. And you said, maybe you want to go into this a little bit more, but you said earlier that you think that actually applying this to prediction markets might have more use cases than we're doing it in traditional equities.
yeah.
Uh, could you kind of get into that a little bit more in terms of like how you think that that would play out, how you see this kind of playing out?
Yeah, for sure. So if you look at the current indices, right, all the current index funds, or like any kind of index instrument, there has to be some underlying, right? Which mostly today is stocks. We'll just talk about stocks. There are like other fews, but we'll focus on stocks for now, right? So stock as an underlying is great, right? I do not have any problem with stocks. They have been around for years, and they will be around for I don't know, like centuries, right? But the only problem with them is the surface area they capture is quite small, right? So if we'll take for example AI, right? We all are bullish on AI. I'm using Claude and Chat GPT daily, and I'm sure most of the people watching the stream, everyone around me, they are doing the same thing, right? Now we all are very bullish on AI. How do we invest in AI as a sector? The first thought will come in our mind is, okay, maybe OpenAI stocks, maybe Anthropic stocks, maybe Nvidia stocks. The problem with first two is they are not listed companies. So you cannot actually invest in them as a retail public trader or like an investor who believes in AI as a thesis, right? The only third option, name you have is Nvidia, right? Which is cool. But if you see Nvidia stock, Nvidia as a company doing things versus Nvidia as a stock, they do not have any correlation, right? Nvidia as a stock lost like $1 trillion in market share, market cap in the last 3 months because of the like all the big investors shifting their funds from Nvidia to like all the alts, right? Like MSTR and like all these companies, Sandex, whatever, because there was like a big drawdown which lost Nvidia as a company like $1 trillion in market cap. So that was good for institutions, right? But from retail trader perspective, I lost a lot of money. But on the other hand, what Nvidia as a company is doing, and AI the whole as a sector as a whole, it's growing quite well, right? They are the number of models which are coming up, how they are performing, people creating cool shit using those LLM models. It's like a upward curve, right? There's like no drawdown in that side. I'm bullish on that. We'll take another example, which is like Solana. I'm building in the Solana ecosystem for the last 4 years, and the only way I can bet on my thesis on Solana is either building a startup in the ecosystem or buying the Sol token, right? Applies to the same for any other sector, which is hyperliquid hype token, monad mon token, right? So like that, like chain native token. But the ecosystem performance and chain native token have no correlation. Solana and Hyperliquid, if you see them as an ecosystem, they are growing very well. Whatever the terms are, like the number of startups launching, getting funded, the TVL, increase in compute, any kind of metric if you want to compare, both of these ecosystems are performing very very well. But then chain native token, it's a shit show. Right? So that's the problem. Like if we take tokens or stocks, the big two trading instrument people are very familiar with, if you are investing in the thesis behind the company, you are not doing very well in terms of the actual performance, right? If you're actually investing in the company or like the company people, whatever, then you are fine, right? You have certain understanding of the technical way the company stock is performing or the fundamentals of the particular company. That is good, right? But if you are investing in like the whole thesis the company is working towards, it's still not the best today. That's where prediction market comes in, right? This exact problem is being solved by prediction market. So if Katie Wood launched her ARK fund in 2020, the only option she had to use the underlying was stocks, right? The It's mostly same for Leopold with his AI thesis, right? But now anyone with a thesis, any particular thesis, they can actually create an index like this, because prediction market can be created for any kind of event, right? The surface level of events where prediction markets can be created or used, it's infinite, right? You are from Boston, I'm in Bristol right now. If you are bullish on these cities, there's no real way to bet on the city itself, right? Okay, I'm bullish on Bristol. How do I bet on the city growth? I do not care about London, or I do not care about UK as a whole. I just really think Bristol as a city is really cool, or the people, the residents here, they are really cool, right? And I want to stay here long term. And so how do I bet on that thesis? and the same for you, right? If you believe Boston is better than NYC in certain terms, how do you how you like bullish on Boston and bearish on NYC? All these kind of thesis which there's like no direct way for stocks to pick up or like tokens to pick up at all. That's where prediction market come in, right? And these are like certain example. I could keep going on, right? Like whether Brian Johnson wanting to bet on longevity, or someone like Forma team, Farhaj betting on Kazakhstan. Balaji recently shifted to Kazakhstan. So if people want to bet on Kazakhstan economy, beside the stock market, we have no idea how companies there are performing, but we believe the government is doing really well, right? So if there were prediction markets betting on the government initiatives, and like okay, the number of tenders going out and the new infrastructure or like startup cities popping up, these kind of things, that's what we are bullish on Kazakhstan. We do not care how their local economy is performing or how their farmland is giving out fruits and stuff, right? Doesn't matter. So these are the kind of ideas which stocks and tokens or the current trading instrument could never pick, but prediction market does. But the only problem with prediction markets is every market is a micro event. So if you want to invest on macro thesis, you just combine all these micro events in an index and then you bet on it for macro
Right.
investing using thesis
I,
index.
yeah, so I kind of understand a little better now, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Basically, what you're saying is that another huge part of this is tokens or stocks are subject to a variety of things that don't actually have to do with the underlying asset. Could be volatility, could be speculation, could be this or that, but it's not
Yeah.
as tied in to the central thesis that you have as, say, a prediction market, which will almost certainly resolve in a specific way. There's no room for interpretation with a prediction market. You're right or you're wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have these probabilities, you can be more right, more wrong, which is good for long tail stuff. But the nice thing about this is that basically you're buying a token, correct? So if you're buying one of these indexes, you're essentially buying a token that does track these prediction markets very heavily.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And can anyone set it up right now? Is anyone able to come in here and set up a index, or are you still permissioning it? I'm noticing as I'm looking through here, I'm seeing like different names. It looks like you have some indexes already deployed, like private space sector expansion. So is this open to everyone?
Yeah, so the way it works is since it's like a very new concept, right? We first need to do a lot of like
Sure. So what would the types of things that this bets on? Like, how would this market be made, for example?
everything bearish Sam Altman. That's why it's named Scam Altman, right? So if you click on it, yeah, like, can you open the page? Yeah, and if you go down, you can see all the markets this is betting on, which is OpenAI IPO doing really well. No. OpenAI market cap doing really well. No. Because the person doesn't believe in Sam Altman, right? So anything bullish on OpenAI? No. Yeah, that's how it is. But yeah, the stage we are in right now is this is very early, right? Like most people need to understand why something like this exists and why this makes a lot of sense. So we have first launched like a 2 week pilot program where anyone could create a paper index. So like all the index you see right now, they are live, tracking live performance of the underlying markets, but you cannot really trade them, right? So after the 2 week 2 week pilot program is done, which will be finished this Wednesday. So after that, we'll launching like the actual production thing where you can actually trade the index, and it will be very similar to like MetaDAO, right? So how MetaDAO, the main launch pad is permissioned, but they also have like a permissionless version which is futar.io. The paper index is like permissionless, so anyone can come and create it, at least in the 2 week pilot program. But the actual production indexes indices to start with, they'll be all permissioned, right? So we can get those particular ideas out which we think makes a lot of sense with something like this, so people can understand how this is like changing the whole game of investing, which is very similar to the MetaDAO playbook, right? If you're familiar, the they launched a few tokens, but only after they did really well, the early tokens, and people realized, oh, how good the ownership coin concept is. That's when they had a lot of inbound on everyone wanting to launch a token there, right? So it's the same model, and applies to like Reddit early on, and all of these like new way to do types thing. So yeah, we believe it's a new way to trade, and will be permission to start with in for the production indices which people can trade, and then we'll eventually launch it for everyone.
This type of go to market, the MetaDAO go to market, I've been thinking about it a lot recently. It's a harder go to market. I mean, you're almost building a moat
Yeah,
at the same time because you need to have proven success. To your point, what you were saying with MetaDAO, they built the product, they launched it, but they kind of need to prove the concept out, and they need to get good companies to launch. They can't just be, it's not a pump.fun type thing where you can just launch anything.
yeah,
Which is another good model. Pump.fun was a great model because it's so it's so effortlessly easy, or it looks effortlessly easy, that people just come to a platform, anyone can create a meme. But with this and MetaDAO, you're going to have to find good people, good indexes. Are people going to be manually trading these indexes, or is this automatic?
yeah. The weight of course it's like MetaDAO is like one kind of GTM, and Pump Fund is very another, right? The way we think of it is we eventually want to do both, but what Pump Fund gave to the world, the crypto world, that's shitty, right? Oh, an infinite meme coin creation engine where most people lose money, and it's all rug and these kind of thing. That is not how we believe crypto should be represented as a whole sector, right? It needs to do better. This is actually like a pump fun killer in a sense, where it won't be as gambling and as adrenaline rush as pump fun is, but now you can trade ideas, right? Now you can trade creators, now you can trade your thesis, whatever it is. Like it's a meme, like scam altman, it's a meme, right? But now you can trade it in a much better way. There are certain underlying markets which are proxy to the things which are happening in the real world, right? So it's that. And again, on the GTM, I think like for any new trading instrument, we need to bootstrap both sides, right? The trading demand and the the supply of indices. So of course it's a very very hard job to do that. I mean, that's why it's permission, right? We want to like highlight certain ideas which we think makes a lot of sense, and you could never do it through stocks. And once it hits people's mind, okay, yeah, this is something which should exist, and it exists, so this is a great thing, then we'll open it up for everyone, right? So right now people can create paper indices, but a few months down the line, eventually, I cannot think of a timeline, but eventually everyone would be able to launch a paper index, sorry, production index, right? And people should be able to trade it, and people should be able to trade a lot of hyper regional things, right? Because the way we think of publishers, like you talked, is anyone with an expertise and an audience should be a thesis index creator, right? Anyone who has any expertise. Now expertise could be very niche and very regional as well, right? Which is something where stocks do not perform really well, and that's where we will eventually be able to help people out. And yeah, on trading side, like the publisher, they need to curate the markets manually right now. Manually in the sense like they just type their thesis. So uh do you want me to share my screen? Maybe I can like show it right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Let's.
Yeah, let's
Um,
do like a live demo of the.
that would be awesome.
Oh wait,
So,
let me
so
open
all
the
you'll
tab
do is,
first.
yeah, if you just see the plus button at the bottom, that's all you got to click, and then I'll just let you in.
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen right now. Can you see it?
Cool.
Yeah,
Looks sick. I,
perfect.
I I
So
love the design too. I love like the aesthetic that you guys put together.
yeah, it's very. retro futuristic, like that's how we think on it, which is what stocks were and all the traditional trading instruments were. They represent the retro theme, and what we are up to is the future of it. So like retro futuristic, you people will keep trading. They have been trading for centuries and they'll keep trading and in the future as well, but there needs to be an evolution. So that is how we think of it. This is like a natural evolution to trading. But yeah, so here we are, right? We have a lot of indices by a lot of cool people. I'll just show how we can create a new one, right? So it's as easy as like writing your thesis. You do not really require to pick markets. All you need to do is like just write your thesis in plain sentence, and we have underlying AI agents which understands your thesis, finds the best market on prediction markets like Polymarket and Kalshi, then aggregate them, find the top five picks, 5 or 6 picks, even provide like a share, the weightage each market should get in the index, and yeah, just let you launch it in a second, the paper version. So I do not want to write anything right now. I'll just use one of the template ones, which is crypto adoption, or maybe US manufacturing having a revival, right? I'll just write it down, click on continue. Now AI agent does all the things I mentioned in the background, which is understanding the thesis, finding the markets, creating an index, everything from the copy to the actual composition of the index. It does everything for me, and it takes some time to do it. Yeah, once it's done, I can just create my profile. This is like a new account, so we do not have a profile here. Okay, this username is available. I'll give it a display name of a monk. I can also change my image, but I'll keep it like this, and just one click, and now I'll be redirected to the actual index I just created, right? So if I see it right here, this is it. I believe in American industrial reshoring, which is like American industries doing really well, manufacturing making a comeback, and China, Chinese manufacturing doing bad, like these kind of ideas. So if you see the markets AI picked for me, will Trump bring back manufacturing? 100% yes, right? Copper cable hit with like all of these kind of markets, right? Okay, US federal government taking a stake in manufacturing company, 100%, like these kind of ideas, right? Which is like bullish on American manufacturing sector as a whole. So it finds it for me, it creates the index, and now I can see its live performance. I can then manage it manually. If I want to change any data or the composition of the index, I can find new markets and yeah, change the composition.
So
Essentially
once
the
you put, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, just essentially the reason we launched the paper indices is to let people visualize now their ideas are like actual index and they are performing well, and they'll eventually make them money to be very honest, right? So if you see, okay, people are bullish on semiconductors, they are a 55% in like a few days, right? It's max a week. So yeah, this is the outcome, the goal we want to achieve with paper indices, which is letting people see now their thesis in their minds
Um,
can be an
oh,
index. Yeah,
yeah.
you're trying something.
Uh, it's a really cool idea. So my question, and apologies, I think there was a little delay on my side, which is why I'm not responding right away. I'm trying to figure out some of the technical glitches. But so my question is, when you write the thesis, is the thesis permanent, or can you update it?
You can update it. You can update the thesis, you can update the composition in the thesis, you can like update it all, right? Or if you believe the thesis is like very different from what you have created your index with, you can create a different index, right? But yeah, it's like ever changing. Like if you compare it with something like polymarket combos or parlays recently, right? Parlays have like an expiration date which is it's only valid until this period of time. After that, the whole bet is completed. You either make money in multiples or you lose complete money, right? Index, on the other hand, is continuous. It's like it will continue, it will allow you to trade continuously. You can hold it at any given time, and it doesn't go completely zero or 1000x like meme coins. It's like depending on the underlying markets, it keeps going up and down. And it's more for sophisticated investors, right? People who believe, okay, uh, the whole sector will eventually do really good or eventually do really bad, instead of playing mematics or like a pump dump games, which is exactly meme coins, and that's what Parley does. Indexes are much better and sophisticated, safer instruments for most of the world.
For users, for creators on Thesis, what are they getting? Do they get a fee? Do they get a curation fee? How is their profit being made?
Eventually, yeah. Every publisher, the more AUM they bring and the more their fund index performs better, they'll make money, right? So there could be a lot of ways publishers can earn fees, which is, it could be a withdrawal fee, it could be a performance fee based on how the index is performing and making people money, like all these kind of ideas, right? So that's like, and it could be a lot of ways. All a publisher needs to do is find the right thesis, build the right composition, and get a lot of AUM from their community.
What when you're looking for creators, and again, it's still early, but when you start to accept and curate creators on your platform, what are the key things you're going to be looking for in terms of talent, in terms of ability? What would you say is most important?
So it would be variety of people, right? It won't be like one particular category we're targeting. It would be a lot of different categories, but the baseline things we are looking for is just two things, which is they should be an expert at something and they should have some audience, right? Because they need to be an expert on that particular category, so they are like subject matter expert to create an index in that direction, right? And they need to have an audience so people can actually trade it, right? I'm sure or a lot of people have certain expertise but they don't have an audience, so no one would be trading their index, right? And people who have a lot of audience but they do not have a particular thesis, they are like a different kind of creators, which do not really align with what we are up to. They're not the right fit, right? So eventually, like someone like Brian Johnson is a very good example. He has an expertise in a one particular field and he has a lot of audience, right? Now people who believe in his idea of longevity and healthcare and do not die, not aging, like all these kind of things, and they want to bet on it, he's the best publisher, he's the subject matter expert to create an index in the category, and his audience, they would eventually want to trade it. So yeah.
So the critique, so I tried to build an index product a little bit a while back, and it was a product that basically allowed you to launch a pump fund token, and then the fees from that pump fund token would go to buy various poly markets based on a similar thing to what you're doing. You'd type in a message to a chatbot, and then the chatbot would kind of like curate markets and figure out which markets to buy from. The
Yeah.
critique that I always got, and I disagree with it wholeheartedly, but the critique that I always got was, why don't people just buy these markets themselves? You know, just buy 5 or 10 markets on the no side. If you don't believe in, go on poly market, whatever, and stack your portfolio that way. Why use an index? And again, I agree with this wholeheartedly, but maybe you could address that criticism for people who are just learning about this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, these are people who are like either not trading in the right way, or they are pro traders and do not understand the psychology of a everyday trader, right? UX, there's a reason Robinhood is doing very well, and there's a reason people use Robinhood and do not go to NYSE to trade directly, right? You could just go to NYC and trade directly. Who is stopping you? But there's a reason Robinhood exists, which is the ease of UX and like a curation, right? There's a very interesting platform in the US called Autopilot. Have you heard of it?
I have, I believe I, it sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's the same thing where like subject matter experts, they can come and create index on thesis they believe in, and the index is for stocks, right? And it has a lot of AUM, and it has a lot of users because people want the convenience, right? Normal retail people who just believe. And beside the UX, right, there's another aspect of which most people do not talk about, which is the human emotions. The truth is humans invest in human beliefs. We People bet on people, right? We do not bet on an idea. But like for example, longevity, it's not that cool, honestly. It is cool, but the way Brian Johnson presented it to the world, that made it cooler, right? More than the, like, me personally, I may not agree with like not dying and all these things, but the way Brian Johnson has sold me the idea, I'm sold, right? The way he presented the idea to the world, I am sold. Now I believe him in him and the way he does things. So it's the same. People bet on people, and that is something you can do it yourself. You can go and like buy 10 poly market positions, but it's not fun when you're actually. So if you go to index and you see the beside the actual performance, the big thing we show is the publisher, right? So Daniel is focused on semiconductors and Yash Agarwal is focused on macro world things, all these ideas. People who believe in Yash, who is like one of our ideal publishers, and they want to bet on him. This is the right way, right? And this is like a natural successor to creator coins. Creator coins was a big term a few years ago. It still is technically, it should technically work, right? But why did it not work? Because the underlying of creator coins was not the thing creators believe in. It was just like random charts and random ticks, and which insider is buying and which KOL is selling, like all these things, which has no correlation to the actual creator, right? Or what they believe in. So here you have an underlying, which is the belief of the creator and you believing in the creator. So now if you're betting on that index, that makes a lot of sense, right? So it's essentially the convenience and the human emotions, which is betting on people and mm, the idea they believe in.
My question too is, so when thinking about this, I've thought about how these newer products are going to change prediction markets. Part of me thinks that products like this could add to, well, yeah, I'll just ask straight up. Do you think that this product is going to add liquidity to prediction markets, or do you think it would like detract liquidity? Um, as general and again, that might be a ridiculous question, but I'm just wondering how you see this affecting the larger prediction market space and
Yeah.
ecosystem.
Yeah, like I said, beside the idea of like actually like trading a thesis and all these things, which is how we are doing the GTM. If you look at the back end, this is the best way to grow prediction markets from where they are today, right? They are doing billions of dollars in volume and millions of dollars in open interest. But how do something 1000x from here? Indices, index funds, right? We we will be like a major supplier for taker volume on all the underlying markets we aggregate, right? So imagine if we have a index bullish on longevity, right? And all the audience and the community members of don't die community and like people who believe in Brian Johnson, they are investing in that or in that index, right? Now that index has assumed like $100 million in AUM, which is like a very big number, right? And underlying prediction markets are on Kalshi, Polymarket, World XYZ, and like all these underlying aggregators. We are supplying that $100 million in pure US backed dollars AUM to these aggregated markets, right? We are the supplier of the taker volume. They benefit a lot from us, right? They get direct open interest, direct volume from the indices. So it's the distribution layer for prediction markets because If we ask people to trade micro prediction markets on like micro events, that's not going to scale eventually. People believe in like macro ideas, right? They most don't have time or the expertise to trade micro events. So indices will act as a distribution layer to grow prediction markets as a whole.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point too, especially when you're thinking about maybe smaller markets that don't get a lot of attention.
Yeah,
Perhaps with this, you could actually drive more attention to those smaller markets that are actually very interesting, but a lot of people don't play them because they haven't captured like a huge narrative, but they fit within a larger narrative. So I could see an index kind of doing that. And also just one more question. I'm also seeing like AUM, assets under management. So basically, what you would do if you believed is it would be like a deposit system. You
yeah,
deposit into the index and you get a token back. That's kind of the mechanic.
yeah. It's essentially a vault right now. Very simply, it's a vault where you are like putting money in and you can withdraw anytime, and whatever you put in at the particular moment, based on how it performs in the future, your assets grow. Right? It's a vault to start with, but we'll eventually tokenize it. Right? So it's much easier to trade and much easier to distribute eventually.
Yeah, it's super interesting, man. I'm really excited about this product and products like it as well. I know we don't have a lot of time left. We're almost at I mean, we're past the 40-minute mark. I guess for my closing question, I just, in terms of your company stats, what you guys are planning, what's on the roadmap for you guys? Have you already raised? Have you raised a seed round, or are you looking to raise more?
Yeah, that's some interesting spicy questions, like which I cannot tell a lot in the steam right now. But yeah, a lot of things cooking in the background. A lot of things are cooking in the background. This pilot program was like just to start to get people some taste on what we are up to. But it's gonna scale a lot from here. That's all I can say. And yeah, production indices, like people actually being able to trade it, that's where the real test is. So we are working towards that. And we are working on a lot of cool ideas or experiments, I would say, to help people understand why this is a cool thing and a better way to bet on, right? Because if you see pump fund meme coins, right? Meme coins were around for years, right? But the way pump fund enabled the curation, so anyone could be a creator without requiring to pool liquidity, that's where things changed, right? And when it hit, if you see their see their performance chart, it was like flat for certain months, and then it popped up like crazy. It was like a boner or something. I don't know. Right? So yeah, but we have seen great performance on these paper indices. Like right now it's 50%, but about like 2-3 days ago, the top funds were performing more than 100% in like 5 to 6 days of curation, which is as good returns as a meme coin with the right fundamentals. That is the kind of outcome we wanted to achieve with the 2 week pilot program launch, which we have. So yeah, all everything we do from here is to launch the real trading ASAP and see where it goes.
And for people who want to stay updated on this when you guys are launching, they can just follow your main Twitter account,
Yes, please
Cleopatra.
follow our main Twitter account, Cleopatra Fun, and maybe join Discord if you like to. We are not quite active on Discord yet, but yeah, it will eventually be. So mainly follow the Twitter account and follow my account because I'm more focused on like doing all the updates and things from my personal account, right? Because that's how it works lately. Like people want to see, like I said, people bet on people. So now I need to productize it myself and prove it myself, right? That's why I like more active on my personal account rather than the company account. But yeah, please follow on us on Twitter and create index. Like we still have 2-3 days left for the pilot program, so if you're watching this, create a paper index. And you should create an index, John. I haven't seen your index yet, so
I think I
I'll wait
will
for
create
it.
an index. So yeah, I definitely want to create an index because I have a bunch of ideas, especially heading into midterms. I mean, now we're kind of in a bit of a down cycle after, or at least we are. Polyfactual is in terms of like impressions. We were getting
Yeah,
like 10,000, 20,000 impressions like per post just like a week ago during the World Cup. Now everything is really kind of so midterms. I think will pick up a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and I got some interesting stuff
You
to
should
look
do it. You
into.
should do it. It's only live until Wednesday, so please create the index ASAP because you would not be able to trade it, create it afterwards. Then we'll work towards production, right? So create it fast.
And if you create the paper one, you have a high like basically that shoes you into the like when you guys launch live, that'll put you
Yeah,
in.
exactly that. Yeah, all the people who are launching paper indices and like looking into things, we are like in our tweet announcement. If you saw, we are taking notes. We are taking notes on people who are like our early users. So we'll give them priority in creating the actual indices in the future, and of course any and all kind of incentives we can provide for making people's life easier. So it's very underrated. We are not selling the incentive part at all because we do not want to like gather that audience which are here just for like, okay, how can I make a quick buck easily or freely. But yeah, a lot of things eventually for people who are early to the mission. So
Well, thanks for coming on. It was a pleasure having you. I love talking about this stuff. I mean, very bullish on Cleopatra, and yeah, keep me updated. And if you want to come on again, just let me know. Happy to have you back.
100%. Nah, the next time it should be on the production launch for sure, right?
Yeah, yeah,
We'll
definitely
be
give me
talking
that.
about the performance of the actual production index. But yeah, you are such a great host, John. Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you, right? Like I do not think I've done a live stream in so many months. Like my friend Raza helped me with the setup, and yeah, it was very exciting. And you're such a great host. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Have a good one, guys. Bye bye.